Hello and welcome to this tutorial. It's C++ for beginners. So today we're going to be looking at maths problems and how code can execute them and provide you with the answers. So the first thing we need to understand is when it comes to using signs, you don't have a division sign unless you use a forward slash. And same with multiplication, you need to use the star sign, which is usually on the 8. So you hold shift and click 8 to get it. And these are really helpful because when you want to do the math, you need these. They're required and another sign is also the AND sign, okay? And I'll show you later on within my program of what the AND does. So I won't go into detail now, I'll go into it a bit later. So we're going to be using switch and case statements. So this allows us to repeat code while it's in the do while loops. So we're able to choose an option of, say, we want to do addition. And then when we finish the addition, we're able to choose another option, say we want to do division, without having to stop and run the program again. We're also going to be using basic data types throughout the program. And so these are the data types that are used. So it's basically integers. And I recommend that you put them in now or later, like depends on when you want to. And a good site for when I started was Programmers, and what it does is it has almost every language in there, and it helps you understand through examples, through videos of how to do things. It's really helpful. So we're going to get straight into the program, and I'll do some explaining in it there. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to create the C++ file, and you want to also include iOS stream and using namespace std. So if you don't know what these do, these basically allow you to write within here without having to follow certain steps. So namespace std means that I don't have to write like that to print something out. Because I've already got it called up here. And so if we just get straight into it, here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 7 different integers. So within the program, we're going to need an int option. So what this allows us to do is it allows us to choose an option within here of what we want to end up doing. And I'm going to go in chronological order from top to bottom, and I'll explain what everything's doing, and then I'll go from the top again and show you what it does. So we need 2 numbers. So these numbers allow people to put in the values that they want to divide, subtract, and whatnot. So to use the math for. Okay, now we got these. So these just allow us a method of providing the answer to be stored somewhere. So we're just getting the answer stored into, say, addition, subtraction, or divide. And remainder is when we use the, sorry, it was a % sign, not the and sign, so I made a mistake before. And this allows us to get the remainder in terms of number. So it's a number of how many is left over. So if we go here, we see a do. So this is a loop, okay? And at the very bottom, we have a while. So it's called a do while loop. And what it does is it executes the code all in here. So from here onto here, it does all that as many times as long as option does not equal 4. So this and that, so if we use the exclamation mark and the equal sign, that means does not equal. Okay, so as long as option is not equal to 4, then it will stop. Okay, so if it equals 4, the program just stops. Okay, so within here, so cout means to just print. So we're just printing out a line. And we're doing this a few times. End L means to end line, if you don't know what that does. And so what this means is it's just going to display these. So I'll just give it a little run and show you what it does. So it shows all the numbers, and if I put in number 1, it starts to do the addition. So we're just printing these out. And another thing we want is sin, okay? So this means console in. So we're getting the users to enter in a value, okay? And what the value is going to be, it's going to store option, okay? So when I enter a number, option will store that number. Okay, so now we have a switch, okay? And within the switch, it has in brackets option. So this is saying that whatever option is equal, then the case happens, okay? So if I were to have option to equal to 1, then it will go directly to the case of 1, and it will perform these. So it's going to print out this line here of enter 2 numbers to be added together, but then it's going to have flush, and flush means that it stays on the line. It stays on the line, and when it stays on the line, it means that you can enter number 1, click enter, and then number 2, and click enter, and then it starts doing all this. So let's begin, let's run it and see what happens. So if I click number 1, and I click enter, we see that we get the question. And say I put the number 12, and then I click enter, and then I put the number 12 again, we get the total is 24. It prints out that. So that's what that line does. So it just prints out the question. Flush allows us to write on the same line for the first number. And then we can enter in our number 2, which is then added as seen here. So we're getting the numbers and we're adding them together, okay? And we're printing out the total is, and we're going to make sure that we have a space after it, or else it ends up putting the number directly next to the column, alright? So we're saying the total is, and we also want the addition to be there. And addition is equal to number 1 plus number 2. So here it's just displaying that. Now every case statement needs a break. The break stops the code. It's like pause here, we're done. Okay, so this is just like a pause that this section or this segment is done. Okay, so if we enter in option, which is here, if we enter in number 2, we can see that number 2 is equal to subtraction. And it is, because in here we have the subtraction code. Obviously it's all the same as spoken above here, except within here we've got this data type called this this known as subtraction. Alright, it's an integer, and within it it's going to equal to number 1 take away number 2. And the reason why we're still getting number 1 and number 2 and not changing it around, it's because we're asking for the input. So it's always going to be updating these data types. So these up here, say they equal 4, they're always going to be updated whenever I'm asking for an input, because then they just start storing it. And so it's pretty much the same going on, and basically the case and the number means when you write that number, that's when it chooses that option. The only thing that we have differently is this one here, number 3. So this is the divided part, and when we run it, what happens is it shows that we enter two numbers, but then it gives us two outputs. So I'm just going to run it now, and we're going to see what happens. So when I write number 3, which is division, and click enter, I'm going to write 23, and I want it to be divided by, we'll go 12. Alright, I'll say 12. And it says 23 divided by 12 equals 1 with a remainder of 11. Okay, so that's what that does. Now, I noticed that I had a problem. Okay, and I wonder if you guys saw it too. Now I'm going to run it again, and I'm going to show you. So if I write number 3, just enter any random numbers. We also got the output of I. Okay, now the reason why we got the output of I,
So we can see that there's a problem, as it says by just printed out. And the way we fix this is by adding break, as I'll show you.
is because we mistakenly forgot the break. To tell it, pause here, this part is done. Okay, so when it comes to case 4, we know that while the while option down here says if option is equal to 4, then the whole loop stops. It just stops. So this tells us that if I write number 4, it will print out by, and then it'll end. And that's pretty much what it does. Now the default, when you run it, and I write, say, E, okay, that's not meant to work. Alright, so default usually displays like please enter an option. Okay, there it is. Please enter in an option from the menu.
So we can see that it's telling us to enter in an option, as we can see within the first line, from entering a number that's not appropriate.
Enter in an option. So here I can change this. Instead of flush, I can say end L for end line. So then it asks the question at the bottom as well. So if I write number 5, it looks more neater. So that's pretty much all within this program, and you know, it's fairly straightforward, and feel free to pause throughout the program to understand what's happening. And I'll just go over one more time the division. So here we have the percentage sign, and the percentage sign, as I said before, it means that it's getting the remainder. Okay, so it's pretty much, if you don't understand what's going on, the only thing that's possibly difficult to understand is the switch and case statements in the do while loop. So again, the way you do a do while loop is you begin by saying do. Okay, you click enter. You then have to have the crocodile braces. Inside there, you then enter your code. And what you need at the end, which goes in the braces, so we got the braces for the do. At the end of the do, we need the while. Okay, now in this while, you gotta have parentheses, okay, brackets. And we're gonna put the condition. We're gonna repeat this until option is equal to or does not equal. We're gonna keep doing it until it equals to 4, and then it's gonna just stop. And we also need to make sure that we have a semicolon at the end. Okay, so if I scroll down, we can see here we got the semicolon. So we have it at the end, and we're going to make sure that we understand indentation. We always have to have it indented when we use a do loop. Okay, so you can fix this by highlighting and then just clicking tab, which pushes it forward. And also when we have the switch and the case statements, we're going to make sure that the case is one tab ahead of all the other code. So instead of having the code right underneath, we're going to have a tab. And we're going to make sure that the break is also in line with the code that's being executed, these. And when we are calling another case, we're going to make sure that we double click enter just to make it look neater, and then backspace once, so then we can write a case statement again. So case 6, for instance. You always need to make sure you have a colon after it, because you're saying this is the number that we're asking for. Then you can click enter and enter in your code. So if you don't understand, please put a comment in the section and tell me how you would like me to improve on these tutorials. I will also put in the description the website that I used to use that helped me with programming when I first began. And I'm happy to copy and paste the code in the comment section, but I'm not sure if it does all the indenting and stuff like that. Okay, so that should be about all. If there are any questions, please let me know. Just make sure you follow how I've got it. So if you want, just pause as we go and try write it out. And it's good to, so I see that copying is the best way to learn, because then you start to understand what certain parts of code does, and if you don't understand it, you're never going to learn it unless you copy someone's and then try apply it to your own program, in which I did. So I didn't understand it. Then after I used that website and I got the gist of it, I'm like, oh wow, it's understandable. So the only thing I didn't really understand was the percentage sign. So I didn't know what it does, and then it helped me out. And I knew what case statements and do while loops do, but it also has it within the website, and I recommend you check that out. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and also share it with friends who do programming. It's really helpful for me. Alright, thank you. Bye.